English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hey, Aaron. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Evan. How about you?
I'm good, but I've seriously been trying not to burst out laughing since I walked into the studio.
I noticed. You've had that I'm holding in a laugh face the whole time. What's going on?
Okay, so, just for today's episode, I thought I'd do a little experiment before coming in. I tried talking to people using full-on textbook English. You know, the stuff we learned in school.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh, I did. I walked into a cafe and said, "Greetings, may I kindly request a single cup of your finest hot beverage?" The guy behind the counter just blinked and said, "You okay, man?"
I can't. That's amazing.
And that's not even the best part. I did it 3 more times, at a grocery store, a parking booth, and even to a kid on a scooter. The reactions? Priceless. Confused, polite smiles, and slightly scared looks. Textbook English in the wild felt like a live comedy show.
Okay. I totally get why you're barely holding it together.
Right? I was dying inside. It felt like I was doing a social experiment in a parallel universe.
Haha. Anyway, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the English Leap Podcast, your go-to podcast for learning English beyond the textbooks and through real-life conversations. I'm Erin.
And I'm Evan. And today's episode? Honestly, this one might be a real eye-opener, especially if you've spent years learning English the traditional way.
Because let's be real, we were taught a lot of English in school, but the actual English people speak? The stuff you hear in cafes, on YouTube, and movies at work. Totally different story.
It's like school gave us the rules, but real life gave us the rhythm, the tone, the vibe, the things that actually make you sound fluent and human.
So in this episode, we're talking about all the things school forgot to teach us. Natural phrases, emotional tone, reactions, conversation flow, even how native speakers mess up and still sound fluent.
And if you've ever thought, why do I still struggle even after years of learning English? This episode is for you.
And to make this chat even more helpful, we've put together a free PDF that you can download. It's packed with comprehension questions, grammar practice, and all the key points from today's talk so you can follow along and improve your English as you listen. You'll find the link in the description.
Oh, and definitely don't miss the end. Charlotte's dropping in for her vocabulary breakdown, where she's going to explain some of the words from today's talk in a clear, simple way.
All right, let's dive in. This is the English they never taught us in school.
All right, let's start with the most obvious one, textbook sentences. And I say this with love, but they sound so robotic in the real world.
Yeah, like I get it. Schools were trying to make us speak correctly. But man, some of the things we were taught to say, if you used them in real life, people would either laugh or check your temperature.
Totally. I once heard someone say, "I am residing in this locality for professional purposes." And I was like, dude, just say, "I live here for work."
Exactly. It's not that the textbook version is wrong, it's just no one talks like that. And that's the problem. We learned how to pass exams, not how to connect with people.
Yeah, fluency isn't about sounding fancy. It's about being understood. And when your sentence has 5 unnecessary words just to say, "I'm hungry," that's not fluent. It's exhausting.
Honestly, the best thing I ever did was start copying how people talk in TV shows and vlogs. It helped me drop the stiff stuff and speak like an actual human.
And speaking of sounding human, let's talk about tone. Because, honestly, tone carries way more weight than grammar ever will.
Yes. I can say the exact same words 3 different ways, and each one means something completely different. Like, thanks. Thanks. Thanks!
Same word, 3 totally different vibes.
But we weren't taught that. In school, Thanks was just a polite word you put at the end of a sentence. No one told us that tone is what makes your message real.
Right. It's like tone is the secret sauce. It's what makes you sound warm, annoyed, sarcastic, excited, whatever you actually feel. You can have perfect grammar and still sound cold if your tone is off.
I remember once texting someone, "I understand," and they thought I was mad at them. Next time I said it, I added a voice note with a smile. Big difference.
Tone adds emotion. It makes language feel alive.
And you know what else gives your English life? Reactions. Not responses, reactions.
Yes, textbooks taught us how to answer a question. Like, do you like movies? Yes, I do. Okay, but where's the soul in that?
Exactly. Real people say, "Yeah, for sure." Ugh, I'm obsessed. Depends. What kind of movie?
And those reactions invite more conversation. They sound natural, playful, curious. And they don't follow a script.
Honestly, learning reactions was a game changer for me. I started saying things like, "No way," or "That's wild," and people were like, "Whoa, your English sounds really good."
Because sounding fluent isn't just about answering. It's about feeling the moment and reacting like yourself.
All right, so now that we've talked about reactions, can we please talk about the things schools actively told us not to do? You know what I'm talking about.
Fillers. Like, you know, all the stuff they told us to eliminate to sound fluent.
Yep. But here's the thing. Native speakers use fillers all the time. I mean, can you imagine someone telling a story with no like, no so yeah? It would sound like a GPS voice.
Right? Fillers aren't mistakes. They're just part of being human. We pause, we hesitate, we think while we talk. And honestly, that's what fluency sounds like.
Exactly. I used to avoid saying like it was a crime. Now I realize it's just part of my voice. The key is to not overdo it, but you don't have to erase it to sound natural.
So if you're listening and thinking, ugh, I paused too much, trust me, you're fine. You don't need to sound perfect. You just need to sound real.
And speaking of sounding real, can we talk about context? Because school might have taught us what to say, but it rarely taught us when to say it.
Yes. How do you do? Might technically be correct. But if you say that at a party, people will look at you like you're from the 1800s.
Exactly. Or like when someone taught me, "It's a pleasure to meet you," which is great in a job interview, but way too stiff when meeting a friend of a friend.
Real English is all about the setting. Your tone, the person you're talking to, the vibe. You wouldn't talk to your best friend the same way you talk to your boss. At least, I hope not.
Haha, seriously. I once said, "It's been a while since we last interacted," to a classmate. She literally said, "Did you just say interacted?"
Context is everything. And if you're only taught the correct phrase, but not where or how to use it, it just falls flat.
Okay, and this one really bugs me. Because textbooks mention idioms and expressions, but either skip them or explain them in the driest way possible.
Facts. I remember reading break a leg, an expression which paradoxically means good luck. And I was like, why are we explaining it like a riddle?
Exactly. And then no one tells you how to actually use it, so you just avoid it altogether. Meanwhile, native speakers are saying things like, "I'm beat," or "That's a red flag," and "You're left behind."
Idioms are how people color their speech. Without them, everything sounds gray. But school rarely taught us the fun stuff.
Right. The real expressions that make your English sound alive. I didn't know what "I'm down" meant until a YouTuber said it in a vlog, and I was like, wait, that means yes?
Yeah, no one ever said, I am down to attend the event in class. But in real life, yeah, I'm down is fluent, casual, and 100% natural. All right, so we've talked about phrases, tone, fillers, but you know what school really didn't prepare us for?
Conversation flow.
Yes. Like, how do you actually keep a conversation going? How do you change topics without sounding awkward? What do you say when there's a silence?
Totally. School gave us dialogues like A. Hello, how are you? B. I am fine, thank you. And you? But no one taught us what to say when someone just says, Yo, what's up? Or how to respond when a conversation takes a weird turn.
Right. Real conversations are messy. People interrupt, change subjects mid-sentence, forget what they were saying. No one ever says, now let us discuss the weather.
Haha, seriously. And it took me forever to figure out how to naturally jump in. Phrases like, oh, by the way, or speaking of that, those are the real gems.
Yes. Once you know those little transitions, it's like unlocking a secret level of fluency. You stop feeling like you're performing and start actually talking.
And let's be honest, real conversation also includes real mistakes.
Oh, yeah? This one hit me hard. I used to panic every time I messed up a sentence. Like, oh no, I used past tense wrong. They're gonna think I'm stupid?
Same. But then I realized native speakers mess up all the time. They forget words, change their mind mid-sentence, say ain't or double negatives, and nobody freaks out.
Exactly. Fluency doesn't mean perfection. It means being comfortable enough to keep going even if you mess up.
I once said, I'm boring, instead of, I'm bored, in front of a group of people. Embarrassing? Yes. Did I die? Nope. And we all laughed about it later.
It's part of the process. And actually, a small natural mistake is way better than a stiff, over-rehearsed sentence.
Okay, final one. And this one's huge. Cultural English. Honestly, this might be the biggest missing piece from school learning.
Yes. We learned grammar rules and vocabulary lists, but nobody taught us how to read the room, or how sarcasm, humor, and emotion completely change meaning.
Right? Like someone saying, oh, great, doesn't always mean they're happy. It could mean they're annoyed. But without cultural context, you totally miss that.
Exactly. Or when someone says I'm dead while laughing, it doesn't mean they're actually dead. It means that was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. And don't even get me started on passive-aggressive phrases. That's interesting. Can mean, I don't agree with you at all.
Learning English without learning the culture behind it is like having a map with no compass. You've got directions, but no idea where you're really going.
Which is exactly why we're doing this episode, to help you connect the dots between grammar, real-life English, and everything in between.
And to help make all this even clearer, Charlotte's here. She's going to break down some of the key words and expressions we use today, so you can really make them your own.
Yep. Take it away, Charlotte.
Thanks, Erin. Hey, English Leapers. It's time for your vocabulary breakdown. These are some of the real-world words and expressions we used in today's episode, words that make your English sound natural, confident, and alive. Let's break them down. Tone. Meaning, the way your voice sounds when you speak, happy, serious, annoyed, etc. Example. He said, sure, in a flat tone, and I knew he wasn't excited. Vibe. Meaning, the mood or feeling of a place, person, or conversation. Example. That cafe has such a chill vibe, I love working there. Obsessed. Meaning, extremely interested or in love with something. Example. She's obsessed with true crime documentaries, she watches one every night. Invite. Meaning, to ask someone to join something or to make them feel included. Example: his friendly smile invited me to sit at their table. Eliminate, meaning to remove or get rid of something. Example: we're trying to eliminate distractions while studying. Hesitate, meaning to pause or be unsure before doing or saying something. Example: he hesitated before knocking on the door, not sure if it was the right place. Paradoxically, meaning in a way that seems strange because it's the opposite of what you'd expect. Example: paradoxically, staying calm helped her win the argument. Red flag, meaning a warning sign that something might be wrong. Example: he canceled our plans last minute 5 times, that's a red flag. Awkward, meaning uncomfortable or embarrassing. Example: it was awkward when we both tried to open the door at the same time. Transition, meaning a change from one state or idea to another. Example: moving from college to work life is a big transition for many people. Panic, meaning a sudden feeling of fear that makes it hard to think. Example: I panicked when I realized I left my passport at home. Stiff, meaning not natural or relaxed. Example: his speech was so stiff, it felt like he was reading from a script. Sarcasm, meaning saying the opposite of what you mean to be funny or critical. Example: when she said, "Oh great, another meeting," it was clear she was using sarcasm. Passive-aggressive, meaning indirectly showing anger or dislike instead of being direct. Example: he was being passive-aggressive when he said, "Sure, I guess I'll do everything myself." And that's it for today's breakdown. Pick 1 or 2 of these words and try using them this week, in your journaling, in a message, or even out loud. The more naturally they come out, the more confident you'll sound. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks, Charlotte. That was super helpful.
And to all our English leapers, thanks for tuning in. We hope this episode helped you feel more confident and more real when you speak.
Don't forget to grab your free PDF in the description. It's packed with all the key takeaways.
We'll see you next time, right here on the English Leap podcast.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.
English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of the English Leap podcast. I'm Jennifer, your host, here to make learning English fun and helpful for your life.
And I'm Daniel. We're so happy you're here with us today. Whether you're listening at home, on the bus, or during a walk, we're glad to be a part of your day.
And today we're diving into a powerful and life-changing topic, the power of positive thinking.
Yes, today's topic is something that can change your life in small but powerful ways. Positive thinking isn't just about feeling happy. It's about how you see the world, how you react to problems, and how you grow from challenges.
Before we start, let me ask you a question. Have you ever had one of those days where everything goes wrong? Maybe you spilled coffee on your shirt, missed the bus, or forgot something important at work or school. Did you notice how one bad moment made the whole day feel worse?
Oh, Jennifer, I know that feeling too well. I remember once I dropped my phone in the morning. It wasn't even broken, just a small scratch. But instead of thinking, "It's not so bad," I kept saying, "What a terrible day." And guess what? My mood got worse, and even small problems felt like huge disasters.
Exactly. It's easy to let one small problem take over our whole day. But what if we could change that? What if we could learn to think differently, even during tough times? That's what positive thinking can do.
Yes, and don't worry. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. Positive thinking is about how we manage challenges, not avoiding them. So, Jennifer, Let's start with the basics. What is positive thinking?
Good question, Daniel. Positive thinking means looking for the good in a situation, even if it's hard. It doesn't mean you ignore the bad things. Instead, you focus on what you can do or what's still okay.
That's a great way to put it. Let me give an example. Imagine you have a test, and you didn't score as high as you wanted. A negative thought would be, I'm so bad at this, I'll never improve. But a positive thought might be, I didn't do as well this time, but I can study differently and do better next time.
Exactly. It's about giving yourself a chance to learn and grow. When you think positively, you don't let one mistake define you. Instead, you focus on what's possible.
And here's the cool part. Positive thinking isn't just good for your mind. It's good for your body, too. Did you know that when we think positively, our brains release less cortisol? That's the stress hormone that can make us feel tired, tense, or even sick.
That's so true. And research shows that people who practice positive thinking often sleep better, have healthier hearts, and even live longer.
Wow, I didn't know that. It makes sense, though. When we think positively, we feel calmer and our bodies respond. Plus, it's not just about health. It helps with relationships and work, too. People like being around someone who brings good energy.
Oh, for sure. Nobody likes a doom and gloom person. Positive people tend to inspire others, which can open doors to new opportunities. But here's the thing. Before we can think positively, we have to notice when we're thinking negatively. This is harder than it sounds because sometimes negative thoughts happen so quickly that we don't even realize it.
Exactly. It's like an automatic reaction. For example, if you make a mistake, do you ever say to yourself, I'm so stupid? Or, I can't do anything right?
Oh yes, those are classic examples of negative thought patterns. Words like always and never are big clues. If you catch yourself thinking, I always fail, stop and ask yourself, is this really true? Have I never succeeded?
That's a great tip. And once you notice those patterns, you can start to change them. For example, instead of saying, I'm terrible at this, try saying, I'm learning, and it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes, it's all about being kind to yourself. Think of how you'd encourage a friend. You deserve the same support from yourself.
So how can we actually build a habit of positive thinking?
One of my favorite methods is keeping a gratitude journal. Every night I write down 3 things I'm thankful for. They don't have to be big. Sometimes it's just, I had a good cup of coffee, or I finished my work on time.
I love that idea. Focusing on gratitude helps us see what's going well, even on hard days. I also try to practice positive self-talk. For example, if I feel nervous about a presentation, instead of thinking, I'm going to mess up, I say, I've prepared well, and I'll do my best.
That's so powerful. And don't forget about visualization. Athletes do this all the time. They imagine themselves winning or performing well. For us, it could mean picturing yourself speaking confidently in English or achieving a goal.
Oh, I use that too. Before big events, I imagine everything going smoothly. It helps me feel more prepared and confident.
Okay, Daniel. Here's something I think we often forget. The people around us can really affect how we think. Have you ever noticed how spending time with someone negative can make you feel down, even if you started the day feeling great?
Oh, absolutely. I had a coworker once who would always complain about work, the weather, even what was for lunch. After a while, I realized that their negativity was rubbing off on me. I'd leave work feeling tired, not because of my tasks, but because of the bad energy.
That's why building a positive support system is so important. Surrounding yourself with encouraging, optimistic people can make such a difference. These are the friends, family members, or even coworkers who lift you up when you're down and remind you of what's possible.
And for those who feel like they don't have that kind of support, don't worry. You can find positivity in communities, clubs, or even online groups. Volunteering is another great way to meet people who share your mindset and values.
Yes, and here's a tip for spreading positivity. Try giving compliments or saying kind words. It's amazing how a simple, "You're doing a great job," can brighten someone's day. And yours too.
Now, Jennifer, let's be real. Even with all the positive thinking in the world, life isn't always easy. What do we do when things go wrong?
That's such an important question. The key is to see setbacks not as the end of the road, but as opportunities to learn. For example, instead of thinking, I failed, so I'll never succeed, you could say, this didn't work, but now I know what to do differently next time.
I love that. It reminds me of the famous Thomas Edison quote, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. What a great way to see challenges.
Exactly. And another important part of handling setbacks is self-compassion. It's okay to feel disappointed, but don't be too hard on yourself. Treat yourself the way you'd treat a friend, with kindness and encouragement.
That's so true. I like to ask myself, what can I learn from this situation? It's a small question, but it helps me focus on growth instead of the mistake itself.
Uh-huh.
Now, Daniel, I want to talk about something tricky. Toxic positivity. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yes. It's when people try to be overly positive to the point where they ignore real problems or emotions. Like when someone says, just stay positive, without understanding that you might be really struggling.
Exactly. Toxic positivity can feel dismissive, like your feelings don't matter. Healthy positivity, on the other hand, acknowledges the challenges but focuses on how to move forward. For example, instead of saying, everything's fine, you could say, this is hard, but I'll figure out a way to handle it.
That's such an important difference. Being positive doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means facing it with hope and resilience.
All right, so we've talked about building positivity and handling challenges. But here's the big question. How do we make positive thinking a lasting habit?
Great question. For me, it's all about daily routines. I like to start my day with a simple affirmation, like, today is a new chance to grow and learn. It sets the tone for the rest of the day.
I love that. And I think consistency is key. Even small habits like writing in a gratitude journal or practicing mindful breathing can have a big impact if you do them regularly.
Yes, and it's also important to check in with yourself from time to time. Ask, am I focusing on the good? Am I being kind to myself? If you notice negativity creeping back in, don't be discouraged. Just gently guide yourself back to a positive mindset.
That's such a good point. Positive thinking is a journey, not a destination. It takes time, but every small step adds up.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up, we'd like to introduce a special segment we call Charlotte's Vocabulary Break. Charlotte, can you help us explain some important words from today's episode?
Absolutely, Daniel. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte, here to help you learn new words and how to use them in everyday life. Let's break down some key vocabulary from today's discussion. Gratitude, meaning feeling thankful or appreciating something good in your life. Example, I feel gratitude every morning when I see the sunshine. Resilience, meaning the ability to recover quickly from difficulties or tough situations. Example, even after losing the game, she showed resilience by practicing harder for the next one. Self-talk, meaning the inner voice in your head that talks to you about yourself or your situation. Example, my self-talk today was very positive and it helped me stay calm before my presentation. Visualize, meaning to imagine or picture something in your mind. Example, before the race, I like to visualize myself crossing the finish line. Cortisol, meaning a hormone that your body releases when you're stressed. Example, too much cortisol can make you feel tired and anxious, so it's important to manage stress. That's all for today's vocabulary. Practice these words in your daily conversations, and you'll be amazed at how quickly they become part of your language skills.
Thank you, Charlotte. That was so helpful.
Absolutely. Charlotte always makes learning new words so simple and fun. And listeners, Remember to write down these words and try using them in your own sentences. So, Jennifer, what's the biggest takeaway from today's episode?
I think it's this. Positive thinking isn't about ignoring problems. It's about how you respond to them. By focusing on solutions, practicing gratitude, and being kind to yourself, you can create a mindset that helps you grow, even in tough times.
That's so true. And remember, listeners, small changes can lead to big results. Start with just one positive habit, like writing down 3 things you're grateful for, and see how it makes you feel.
And don't forget, we've got free PDF guide with all the tips and exercises we discussed today. The link is in the description, so be sure to grab it.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the English Leap podcast. We hope it inspires you to start thinking positively and living your best life.
Until next time, stay positive, keep learning, and take that leap toward a better you.
Bye for now, everyone.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.
English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hey there, English learners. Welcome back to the English Leap podcast, your favorite place to improve your English while talking about real-life topics that actually matter.
That's right. I'm Evan.
And I'm Erin. Today, we're talking about something I know a lot of you will relate to. Being ambitious, but lazy.
Ah, that magic combination. You want success, but when it's time to actually do the work, suddenly your bed is the most comfortable place on earth.
Or you open YouTube for inspiration, and next thing you know, you've watched 5 videos on how to be productive, but haven't actually done anything.
Oh, that's painfully accurate. But here's the good news. You're not alone. And today, we're going to break down exactly why this happens and how you can actually overcome it.
All right, let's start with a question for everyone listening. Think about your biggest goal right now. Maybe you want to start a business, learn a new language, or finally get in shape. You can picture the dream perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm. You can see yourself as that future version of you. Successful, confident, totally in control. But then, reality hits.
And instead of taking action, you suddenly remember you need to check your messages, or clean your desk, or, worst of all, make a detailed plan before you even start.
Yep, and that's where the problem begins. We get so focused on planning, preparing, and thinking about our goals that we never actually start.
And when we do start, we quickly feel overwhelmed and stop. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain, looking up and thinking, "Oh no, that's way too high. Maybe I'll climb tomorrow."
Exactly. So, what do? That's what we're breaking down today. How to work with your laziness instead of against it, so you can actually start achieving your goals.
Oh, before we dive in, don't forget we've got a free PDF for this episode.
It's more than just a summary. We've added a comprehension exercise and grammar practice to help you improve your English too.
So, you'll boost both your productivity and your English skills. Grab it from the link in the description.
Okay, let's talk about the science behind this. Why does this even happen? Why do ambitious people struggle with laziness?
It's actually simple. Our brains love big dreams, but they hate big effort. When something feels too overwhelming, our natural instinct is to avoid it.
Right? It's like your brain sees all the steps you need to take and just shuts down.
Think about it like this. Imagine you have to run a marathon. 42 kilometers. If I told you to start right now, no training, no warm-up, just go, how would you feel?
Probably like dying after 100 meters.
Exactly. That's how big goals feel. You see the huge distance between where you are and where you want to be, and it feels impossible. So, what do? You stay in bed and scroll TikTok instead.
So the first thing we need to do is stop thinking about the entire marathon and just focus on the first step.
Exactly. So instead of writing long to-do lists, let's try something different. something that actually makes you start instead of just planning.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the trick?
Instead of listing out a million things you have to do, write about your day as if it already happened.
Wait, you mean pretend I've already done everything?
Exactly. Instead of saying, I need to study today, write, I sat down, focused, and studied for an hour. I even had time to take a break and felt great afterward.
Oh, I see what you're doing. So instead of a stressful to-do list, I'm creating a vision of success. It feels like I've already done it.
Yep. Your brain sees it as possible instead of overwhelming. When you describe your day in past tense, it tricks your mind into thinking the hard part is already over, making it easier to follow through.
That actually makes so much sense. When I write a normal to-do list, it just reminds me of everything I haven't done yet. But if I write it in past tense, my brain already believes I've accomplished something.
Exactly. And the best part? No pressure, no overwhelm, just an easy mental shift that makes productivity feel effortless.
Okay, let's try this. Normally, I'd write, go to the gym, study for 2 hours, clean my apartment, finish my work project. But that already looks exhausting.
Right. So instead, write, I went to the gym for 30 minutes and felt refreshed afterward. Then I studied for 2 hours, and it was easier than I expected. I even had time to clean up and finish my work project before dinner, so I felt super accomplished.
Oh, that sounds way less stressful. It actually makes me want to do it because it feels doable instead of overwhelming.
That's the power of shifting your mindset. Instead of a rigid to-do list, you're giving yourself a clear and encouraging vision of success.
Okay, but what if I write it down and still don't feel motivated?
Then make it even smaller. Instead of writing a whole day, just write one thing. I finished my work project today, and it felt great.
Ah, so if a full day feels overwhelming, just focus on one task and write it as if it's done?
Yes. And if you really need a boost, imagine yourself at the end of the day. Picture how relieved and accomplished you'll feel if you actually complete that one thing.
Okay, so now I know how to trick my brain into starting. But what if the task itself is just boring?
Ah, great question. That's where our next trick comes in. Making work feel like play so you actually want to do it.
All right, I love this trick because, let's be honest, if something feels boring, we avoid it. But if it's fun, we'll do it for hours.
Exactly. So instead of forcing yourself to work hard, you can trick your brain into wanting to do the task.
Okay, but how do we do that? I mean, work is work, right?
Not necessarily. Let's say you need to clean your room. What's something that makes it feel less boring?
Music! I blast my favorite songs and suddenly, I'm a cleaning superstar.
Exactly. Small changes make a huge difference. Music, a different location, even a cup of coffee. These small things can make boring tasks way more enjoyable.
All right, but what about things like studying? How do I make that fun?
Turn it into a game. Set a timer for 10 minutes and challenge yourself to finish as much as possible before the time runs out.
Ooh, like a speed round? That makes it way more exciting.
Yep. Or use rewards. If I finish this task, I get a coffee break.
I love it. So instead of forcing myself to work, I just make it fun.
Exactly. And that's what makes it easier to start and stay focused.
Okay, so now I'm starting and having fun. But what if I still don't finish things?
Ah, that's where our next trick comes in. The unfinished task effect. Let's get into it. So we've talked about how to start and how to make work fun. But let's talk about another problem. Starting something and then just never finishing it.
Oh, that's me. I'll begin something, feel productive for a while, then suddenly lose motivation and convince myself I'll finish it later. But later never happens.
And the worst part? That unfinished task stays in your mind, making you feel guilty every time you think about it.
Yes, I'll completely ignore something for weeks, but then the moment I try to relax, my brain suddenly reminds me about it.
That's called the Zeigarnik effect. It's a psychological trick our brains play on us. Once we start something, our minds don't like leaving it incomplete.
Oh, so that's why when I start a Netflix show, I have to finish it.
Exactly. And you can use that same trick to your advantage with work and productivity.
Okay, so how do we make the Zeigarnik effect work for us instead of against us?
Simple. Don't aim to finish, just aim to start. The moment you begin, your brain will naturally push you to keep going because it hates leaving things unfinished.
So instead of saying, I need to finish this report, I say, I'll write the first sentence?
Exactly. Once you write that first sentence, your brain won't want to leave it hanging. Before you know it, you've written a full paragraph, then a page, then you're done.
Oh, that's sneaky. It's way easier to convince myself to do one small thing than to commit to the whole task.
So now we know how to start, how to make work fun, and how to keep going once we've started. But what if we're spending time on the wrong things? What if we're just being busy instead of being productive?
Oh, I know this one. I have days where I'm super busy answering emails, organizing my files, checking notifications, but by the end of the day, I've done nothing important.
Exactly. And this is what happens when we don't prioritize correctly. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're making progress.
Right. It's like running on a treadmill. Lots of effort, but you're not actually going anywhere.
Perfect analogy. That's why we need the Eisenhower matrix. It helps us figure out what's actually important and what's just wasting time.
Okay, I've heard of this, but never used it. What's the deal?
It's a super simple way to organize tasks. Picture a box with 4 squares. Every task you have falls into one of these categories. Number 1. Important and urgent. Do it now. Like deadlines, emergencies, last-minute prep. Number 2. Important but not urgent. Schedule it. Like learning a skill, working out, long-term projects. Number 3. Urgent but not important. Delegate it. Like emails, small admin tasks, unnecessary meetings. Number 4. Neither important nor urgent. Delete it. Like mindless scrolling, binge-watching random videos.
Oof. So my 2-hour research session on productivity videos falls in category 4, huh?
Yep. If it's not actively helping you reach your goals, it's probably just a distraction.
Okay, so how do I use this? Just write down my tasks and categorize them.
Exactly. And once you see where your time is going, you'll realize a lot of what feels urgent can actually be ignored or scheduled for later.
That makes sense. So instead of feeling busy all the time, I focus on what actually moves me forward.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder.
Okay. But what about people who get stuck because they're afraid of failing? Like, sometimes I avoid things just because I don't want to mess up.
Ah, that's a big one. That's where our next trick comes in. Learning to embrace being bad at something so you can actually improve.
All right, I'll be honest. I hate being bad at things. If I'm not naturally good at something, I tend to just not try.
Oh, I so get that. And that's exactly why perfectionism makes people more lazy. We don't start things because we're scared of failing.
Right? Like, I've always wanted to learn guitar, but after struggling with a few chords, I thought, yeah, maybe I'm just not meant to play.
And that's the trap. If you only do things you're already good at, you never grow. The problem isn't being bad at something, it's expecting to be great at it instantly.
So how do we fix that?
The best way to fight perfectionism is to choose something where you don't care about being good. Pick a hobby just for fun.
Oh, so I should start something I know I'll be bad at, on purpose?
Exactly. It can be anything. Bad dancing, baking chaotic cookies, drawing stick figures. Just something where you can enjoy the process instead of obsessing over results.
Wait, so I can just suck at something and have fun with it?
Yep. When you stop fearing failure, you start more things, and that's what leads to real progress.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. But let's say I get over my fear and start something new. How do I make sure I stick to it and don't fall back into old habits?
Great question. That's where our final trick comes in. Learning how to think like the person you want to become.
All right, I'm curious about this one. Are you telling me I need to time travel?
Not exactly. But instead of asking yourself, what should I do? Try asking, what would my future successful self do?
Okay, I like this. So if I want to be fit, instead of thinking, should I work out today? I ask, would a fit person skip their workout?
Exactly. Your brain starts adjusting to act like that future version of you, and the more you do it, the more it becomes a habit.
So how do I actually apply this?
Simple. First, write down your current daily routine. How you spend your time, your habits, everything.
Oh, so I create a snapshot of what my life looks like right now?
Yep. Then, write down a future self routine. What your ideal, successful version of you would do in a day.
So if I want to be a productive person, my future self would wake up early, work with focus, and actually finish projects instead of getting distracted?
Exactly. Then, compare the two routines and find small habits you can start right now to bridge the gap.
Oh, that's brilliant. Instead of waiting for some magical, perfect moment to change, I just start acting like my future self today.
Yes. And once you start thinking like your future self, your decisions naturally align with your goals.
Wow, these tricks actually make sense. No more excuses.
Exactly. But before we wrap up, let's break down some of the key words and phrases we use today with our vocabulary expert, Charlotte.
Hey everyone, it's Charlotte, and I'm here to go over some important words and phrases from today's episode to make sure you understand them completely. Ambitious, meaning having a strong desire to succeed. Example, Sarah is very ambitious. She dreams of becoming a doctor one day. Overwhelmed, meaning feeling too much pressure or stress from something. Example, he felt overwhelmed with all the homework and projects due this week. Procrastination, meaning delay or postpone tasks. Example, Jake's procrastination made him finish his assignment at the last minute. Instinct, meaning a natural reaction or behavior. Example, when she heard a loud noise, her first instinct was to run. Accomplished, meaning successfully completed something. Example, after months of hard work, he finally accomplished his goal of running a marathon. Distractions, meaning things that take your attention away from what you should focus on. Example, social media is one of the biggest distractions when studying. Perspective, meaning a particular way of viewing or thinking about something. Example, from his perspective, the problem wasn't as serious as it seemed. Perfectionism, meaning the tendency to want everything to be perfect, often causing delays. Example, her perfectionism made her spend hours rewriting the same paragraph. Cliffhanger, meaning a story or episode ending in suspense, making you want to continue. Example, the movie ended with a cliffhanger, so now I can't wait for the sequel. Delegating, meaning assigning tasks to someone else. Example, a good leader knows the importance of delegating tasks to their team. Binge watching, meaning watching multiple episodes or videos in a row. Example, she spent the entire weekend binge watching her favorite TV series. And there you have it. These words and phrases will help you not only understand today's topic better, but also use them in real-life conversations. Try them out.
That was super helpful. Thanks, Charlotte.
Yeah, these words are so useful, especially when talking about productivity and habits.
All right, that officially wraps up today's episode. Don't forget to grab your free PDF in the description. It has all the key takeaways and exercises to help you apply these tricks.
And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe and share it with someone who needs a productivity boost.
See you next time on the English Leap podcast.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Speak English with Class. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Marco. Today, we're diving into a topic that I'm sure hits close to home for a lot of you. My mind goes blank when I try to speak English.
Oh, this one's a biggie, Marco. You know, it's that moment when you're all set to speak English, you've rehearsed what you're going to say, maybe even practiced in your head. But as soon as you open your mouth, nothing. Your mind just goes blank.
Exactly, it's like your brain decides to take an unplanned vacation just when you need it the most. You know, Jennifer, this reminds me of the time I had my first job interview in English. I had prepared so much, even rehearsed answers in front of the mirror. But when the interviewer asked me the first question, my mind went completely blank. I just stared at him like a deer in headlights.
Oh no, Marco, what did you do?
Well, I panicked for a second, but then I just blurted out, "I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?" It bought me a little time to gather my thoughts, and I was able to get through it, but man, that was nerve-wracking.
That's such a relatable story. I had a similar experience when I first moved to Paris. I was in a bakery and I wanted to order a croissant. Simple, right? But when it was my turn, I just froze. My mind went completely blank, and I ended up pointing at the display and saying, "One of those, please." The baker gave me the funniest look.
That's priceless. It just goes to show that no matter how prepared you are, sometimes your brain just decides to take a break. But don't worry, today we're going to explore why this happens and share some practical tips to help you keep the conversation going, even when your mind seems to check out.
Absolutely. So if you've ever found yourself in this situation, keep listening because we've got some great strategies to help you stay cool and confident when speaking English.
All right, let's get into it. First things first, Jennifer, why does our mind go blank when we try to speak a foreign language, especially English?
Well, Marco, it's usually a combination of nerves and cognitive overload. When you're trying to speak a language that's not your native one, your brain is doing a lot of work. It's processing grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and all of that in real time. If you add a little pressure, like speaking in front of someone or trying to impress your boss, your brain can just freeze up. It's like trying to run multiple apps on an old computer. Eventually, something's going to crash.
That makes total sense. It's like trying to juggle too many balls at once. Eventually, one or two are going to hit the ground. And let's be honest, the fear of making mistakes doesn't help either. You're so worried about saying the wrong thing that your brain just says, "You know what? I'm out of here."
Exactly. So let's talk about how to overcome this blank mind syndrome. One great tip is to prepare some go-to phrases in advance. Think of them as your safety net. If your mind goes blank, you can rely on these phrases to keep the conversation going. For example, if you're struggling to find the right words, you could say, "Let me think about that for a moment." Or, "I'm not sure how to say this, but..." These phrases buy you time and keep the conversation flowing.
That's such a useful tip. It's like having a lifeline when you're stuck. Let's try a quick example. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone asks for your opinion on a project. Instead of panicking, you could say, "That's a great question. Let me take a second to gather my thoughts." This gives you a moment to breathe and think before diving into your answer.
Exactly. And here's another tip. Practice speaking in low-pressure situations. The more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get. Start by talking to yourself in the mirror, narrating your day, or even chatting with a pet. For example, you might say, "I'm making breakfast now. I need to fry some eggs and make coffee." These low-pressure situations help you get used to speaking without the fear of judgment.
That's a great way to build confidence. I remember when I first started learning Italian, I would practice by narrating everything I was doing. I'd say things like, "Now I'm brushing my teeth," or "I'm going to the store to buy some bread." It felt a bit silly at first, but it really helped me get used to forming sentences in Italian.
That's a great example, Marco. And if you want to make it even more fun, try shadowing exercises. This is where you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say as closely as possible. It's like being their shadow. You copy their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. Let's say you're watching an episode of your favorite show in English. Pick a character and try to mimic everything they say. This not only helps with pronunciation, but also with fluency.
Oh, I've done that before. I used to shadow characters from TV shows to practice my English accent. I remember trying to mimic Joey from Friends, with his famous line, "How you doing?" It was a lot of fun, and it really helped me improve my accent and intonation.
That's awesome, Marco. And speaking of tools, here's another essential tip. Focus on the message, not the exact words. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to find the perfect word that we lose sight of what we're trying to communicate. Remember, the goal is to get your message across. Let's say you forget the word refrigerator. Instead of freezing up, you could say, "the thing in the kitchen that keeps food cold." It might not be perfect, but it gets the point across.
That's a great point, Jennifer. It reminds me of the time I was trying to describe a microwave in Spanish. I couldn't remember the word, so I said, "the box that makes food hot quickly." The person I was talking to laughed, but they understood what I meant. It's all about improvising when necessary.
Exactly. And that brings us to another key tip. Learn to breathe and slow down. When your mind goes blank, it's easy to start rushing or getting flustered. But slowing down gives you time to think and reduces the pressure. For instance, if you're giving a presentation and lose your train of thought, just pause, take a deep breath, and then continue. Your audience will appreciate the clarity and you'll feel more in control.
Yes, speaking slowly can make a huge difference. You're not in a race, so take your time. And here's a fun tip. Use humor to diffuse the situation. If you forget a word or stumble, laugh it off. For example, if you mix up desert and dessert, you could say, "Well, I guess I was craving sand instead of cake." It takes the pressure off and shows that you're confident enough to handle mistakes.
That's such good advice, and honestly, most people will appreciate your effort and won't mind if you make a few mistakes. They might even help you out by suggesting the word you're looking for.
Exactly. And here's something else to remember. Visualize success. Before you speak, take a moment to picture yourself confidently having the conversation. Visualization can be a powerful tool to help reduce anxiety and boost your confidence. Imagine yourself in a meeting, speaking fluently and engagingly, and your mind is less likely to freeze up when the time comes.
Visualization is such a powerful technique. It's like rehearsing in your mind before the actual performance. And speaking of preparation, let's not forget the importance of expanding your vocabulary. Sometimes our minds go blank simply because we don't have the words we need. The more vocabulary you know, the easier it is to express yourself. For instance, if you're learning words related to business, make sure you know different ways to talk about profits, losses, negotiations, and so on. This way, you won't get stuck searching for the right word in the middle of a conversation.
That's a great point. And one way to build your vocabulary is by reading regularly. It doesn't have to be complicated texts. Even reading a short news article or a blog post each day can introduce you to new words and phrases. Then, try to use those new words and sentences throughout the day. For example, if you learn the word negotiation, you might say, "I have a negotiation with a client tomorrow," even if you're just practicing by yourself.
Absolutely. And here's another tip related to vocabulary. Group your new words into themes. For example, learn all the words related to cooking one week, like stir, boil, bake, and then practice them by talking about your favorite recipes. The next week, you could focus on words related to travel, like luggage, boarding pass, departure, and use them in sentences about a trip you've taken or plan to take.
Themed vocabulary learning is a game changer. It helps you remember words better because they're all related, and you're more likely to use them together in conversation. Plus, it's much more interesting to learn vocabulary in context, rather than just memorizing random words.
Exactly. And the more words you have at your disposal, the less likely your mind will go blank. So to all our listeners out there, don't worry if your mind goes blank sometimes. It happens to everyone, even native speakers. The important thing is to keep practicing, stay positive, and use the tips we've shared today to keep moving forward.
Yes, remember, speaking a new language is a journey, and every conversation is a step in the right direction. So be kind to yourself, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're all part of the process.
And with that, we're wrapping up today's episode. We hope these tips help you the next time your mind goes blank while speaking English. And we'd love to hear from you. What tips or strategies have helped you in similar situations?
Yes, share your thoughts with us in the comments or on social media. We're all in this together, and your experiences might just help someone else.
Thanks for tuning in to Speak English with Class. Keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, you've got this.
Until next time, take care and keep speaking English with class.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.
English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Leap podcast. I'm Lucy and I'm so glad you're here with us today. Whether you're a longtime listener or tuning in for the first time, we're excited to have you.
That's right. Hey, hi, I'm Daniel, and today we've got a really interesting topic lined up that I think will resonate with a lot of people. Lucy, how's everything going on your end?
It's been a good day, Daniel. I'm feeling really pumped for today's episode because betrayal is one of those things we've all experienced in one way or another, but it's not something we always talk about.
Exactly. Betrayal is a tough pill to swallow, whether it's from a close friend, a family member, or even someone at work. It can shake up how we trust people, and that's what makes today's conversation so important.
Absolutely, and we want to dive into what betrayal feels like, how it affects relationships, and how people cope with it. We've got some personal stories, reflections, and even a few tips on how to move forward when trust is broken.
That's right. But before we go any deeper, let's take a moment to welcome our vocabulary expert, Charlotte. She'll help us break down some of the key words and phrases we'll be using today. Charlotte, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Daniel. I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to helping everyone understand key terms related to our topic. Stick around, because I'll be explaining some vocabulary at the end of the podcast.
Thanks, Charlotte. We're happy to have you on board. Now, back to our topic, betrayal. It's such a personal and emotional experience, and it affects everyone differently. Lucy, have you ever been betrayed by someone close to you?
Yeah, unfortunately I have. I think we all go through it at some point in our lives. There was a time when a close friend of mine shared something very personal that I had confided in her. It felt like my trust was completely shattered.
That sounds really tough. It's always harder when it's someone close to you, someone you never expect to hurt you.
Exactly. I wasn't just hurt by what she did, but it also made me question every other relationship in my life. Trust, once it's broken, is so hard to rebuild, you know?
I completely get that. Betrayal doesn't just affect your relationship with that one person. It impacts how you trust others going forward. I had that feeling in the workplace once, when a coworker I trusted took credit for something I worked really hard on. It was a big project, and when they took the spotlight, I felt completely blindsided.
Ouch. Workplace betrayal can be just as hurtful, especially when you're counting on someone to have your back in a professional setting. It's like it hits you out of nowhere.
Exactly. And what makes it worse is that it changes how you interact with people in the future. You become more guarded, and it takes a lot of time to rebuild that trust.
Yeah, betrayal forces you to put up walls. But it's also a learning experience. It teaches you who to trust and what boundaries to set moving forward.
Definitely. It's a painful lesson, and that brings us to our next point, the emotional impact of betrayal. When you're betrayed, it's not just a simple case of being hurt. It messes with your trust, your self-esteem, and even your sense of security in relationships.
Right. Betrayal makes you question everything. Your choices, your judgment, and even your value in the relationship. For me, the hardest part wasn't just losing that friend, but losing the confidence I had in myself for trusting her in the first place.
That's such a common experience. Betrayal can lead to self-doubt. You start wondering, was I too naive? Should I have seen this coming? It becomes a cycle of questioning your own judgment.
And that emotional weight can follow you into other relationships. You become more cautious, more reluctant to trust, and sometimes you start seeing betrayal where there isn't any, just because you're afraid of getting hurt again.
Exactly. It's like you're always on edge, expecting something bad to happen, even in relationships where there's no actual reason to doubt anyone. That fear can stop you from truly connecting with others.
Yes, it's exhausting emotionally. You're trying to protect yourself from being hurt again, but at the same time, you're missing out on deeper connections because you've built these walls, and those walls aren't easy to bring down once they're up.
That's the hardest part, isn't it? Learning to trust again, but also being smart about it. You don't want to close yourself off, but you also don't want to get hurt the same way twice. It's a balance between protecting yourself and staying open to new relationships.
Exactly. And part of that balance is recognizing when it's okay to let go of the fear and when to establish boundaries that protect your emotional health. You can still trust people, but with more awareness of who truly deserves that trust.
It's definitely a process. And I think that leads us into the next point: why people betray others. It's easy to focus on the person who was hurt, but understanding why betrayal happens is a big part of moving forward.
Definitely. People often betray others not out of pure malice, but because of fear, insecurity, or even self-preservation. For example, someone might betray a friend because they're afraid of losing something, whether it's status, a relationship, or even just the upper hand in a situation.
Yeah, and in a professional context, it could be driven by ambition. People betray their colleagues to get ahead, to make themselves look better, or to gain favor with a boss. It's often about selfish motives, but there's usually more complexity to it.
Exactly. And sometimes betrayal isn't even intentional. It can come from people who are emotionally immature, who don't fully realize the damage they're causing because they're only focused on their immediate needs. It doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps to see that betrayal can come from a place of personal weakness rather than strength.
That's such a key point. Betrayal is often about the person doing the betraying. They might be dealing with their own insecurities, jealousy, or fear of failure. Understanding that doesn't take away the hurt, but it can make it a little easier to see that the betrayal wasn't always about you, but about their internal struggle.
Exactly. It helps you separate the act of betrayal from your own self-worth. You realize that sometimes people act out of their own flaws or fears, and it's not always a reflection of you or your actions. But even when we understand why someone betrays us, it doesn't mean the emotional damage is any less. And that brings us to the next point. How do we move forward?
That's right. Understanding why it happens is one part, but healing and moving on is a whole other challenge.
Exactly. Moving forward after betrayal is tough, and it's not a one-size-fits-all process. For some, it starts with forgiveness, not just forgiving the other person, but forgiving yourself for trusting them in the first place. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control how you respond and heal.
That's right. And forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean letting that person back into your life. It's more about letting go of the anger and resentment so you're not carrying that weight around with you. It's about freeing yourself from the emotional baggage.
Yeah, and setting boundaries is crucial too. After betrayal, it's natural to want to protect yourself. Part of moving forward is learning how to rebuild trust without losing yourself in the process. You can be open to new relationships, but with a clearer understanding of what you're willing to accept and what you won't tolerate.
Absolutely. And moving forward also means reflecting on what you've learned from the experience. Betrayal can be a painful teacher, but it shows you what's important in relationships: honesty, loyalty, and communication. It helps you understand your values more clearly.
Yes, and it's important to remember that healing takes time. There's no rush to get over betrayal. It's about taking the steps to regain your peace and rebuild trust, not just in others, but in yourself. Trusting your own judgment again is key.
And in the end, moving forward is about growth. It's about using the experience to become stronger, setting healthier boundaries, and being more mindful about who you let into your life. It's a journey, but one that ultimately leads to a better version of yourself.
All right, before we wrap up this conversation, let's bring Charlotte back in to break down some of the key terms we've discussed throughout the episode. Charlotte, over to you.
Thanks, Lucy. Let's go over a few key terms that came up in your discussion. Betrayal. Betrayal happens when someone you trust breaks that trust, often in a hurtful way. For example, she felt a deep sense of betrayal when her friend shared her secret. It's all about the violation of trust. Guarded. When someone becomes guarded, they are more cautious about opening up to others because they've been hurt before. For example, after being betrayed by her colleague, she became more guarded at work. Boundaries. Boundaries are limits we set in relationships to protect ourselves emotionally. For example, he set clear boundaries with his friends after being betrayed to avoid being hurt again. Self-esteem. This is how you feel about yourself, your confidence and self-worth. For example, her self-esteem dropped after being betrayed by someone she trusted deeply. Self-doubt. This happens when you question your own decisions or abilities. For example, after the betrayal, he was filled with self-doubt, constantly questioning his judgment. Naive. This describes someone who is inexperienced or overly trusting. For example, he felt naive for trusting someone who ended up betraying him. Suspicious. Being suspicious means feeling cautious or distrustful, often because you're worried someone might hurt or deceive you. For example, after the betrayal, she became suspicious of anyone who got close to her. Malice. Malice refers to the desire to harm someone or act with ill intent. For example, they acted out of malice, hoping to get revenge for what happened. Self-preservation. This means doing something to protect yourself from harm or loss, often at the expense of others. For example, he betrayed his friend out of self-preservation, fearing he would lose his job if he didn't. Ambition. Ambition is a strong desire to achieve something, often with great effort. For example, her ambition to succeed in her career led her to betray her colleague. Insecurity. Insecurity means lacking confidence or feeling uncertain about yourself. For example, his insecurities made him betray his friend, thinking he wasn't good enough without taking shortcuts. Emotional immaturity. This refers to when someone hasn't fully developed the emotional awareness to understand how their actions affect others. For example, her emotional immaturity caused her to betray her partner, not realizing the long-term damage it would cause. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is when you let go of anger or resentment towards someone who has wronged you. For example, she decided to forgive her friend, not to excuse the betrayal, but to release herself from the anger. Emotional baggage. This refers to unresolved emotional issues or pain from past experiences. For example, he realized he was carrying emotional baggage from the betrayal that was affecting his new relationships. Growth. Growth in this context means personal development, often as a result of learning from a difficult experience. For example, the betrayal helped her grow stronger and become more aware of who she lets into her life. These words are key to understanding the different aspects of betrayal, from the initial hurt to the complex emotions that follow, helping us make sense of the entire journey from betrayal to healing.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. That really helps break down and clarify the important concepts we've discussed today.
Yeah, it's always great to get a deeper understanding of the words that reflect what we go through emotionally.
Wow, we've covered a lot today, and hopefully it's given you some insight into betrayal, why it happens, and how to move forward.
Exactly. It's never easy, but learning from these experiences helps you rebuild trust and stronger relationships.
Before we go, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced betrayal, or are you currently trying to move forward from it? Leave your thoughts in the comments, share your story, and let's keep this conversation going.
Exactly. Your stories could help others who are dealing with similar experiences, and we'll be reading and responding to your comments.
Thanks again for joining us today on the English Leap podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this.
Yes, And make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming episodes. We've got a lot more insightful conversations coming your way.
Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay strong, and keep learning. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everyone, and thanks for tuning in.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.